Hello. Hello, everybody. So, this is the latest I've ever been for a live stream, but guess who's not worried about it? This guy. Welcome to those of you who are here and waiting for me. Thank you so much. Yeah, was unexpectedly ran into a bit of an issue this morning. And after the week it's been, it feels like the world's smallest problem. So, yeah, being a couple minutes late, no big deal. Um, Speaking of the week that it's been, how are you? How are you guys doing out there? This week, I am recording this on December 23rd, 2022. Um, and I'm hoping my voice hangs in here with me. I'm this close to losing it, uh, partly because of the emotional storm, let's say it's been this week. Like, it's been an incredible surge of really intense energies that have been playing out in my world this week. And so I was curious, like, how's it going out there in your world? Um, when I say intense, like, it has been a week of extremes, like going to extreme negative feelings, going to extreme positive feelings, kind of all over the gamut. So it is very interesting that, this very much coincides with Jupiter re entering Aries, where I very much feel the boost in fire energy that began here a few days ago when Jupiter got back into Aries. And I think that might be part of what is like kind of turning up the heat on the rest of the emotional energy that is with us at this time. So, yeah, like this whole last week has given me a lot to process and like a lot of emotional energy to process. Yes, extreme, Andrea says. Okay, good. Glad I'm not alone in this. Um, it has been intense to work with the energies that have been provoked through the experiences that unfold, right? Like, it's very clear to me that the people that are playing their parts in these experiences, like, it is not personal. This is not something that, like, that they may even consciously understand what they're doing to like help bring these intense emotions to the surface so that we can do a big release is what I think is coming from all of this is that like when um, okay, so for example, let me just start with a little story. On Wednesday, I had, let's see, almost bought a house and got our son back from a month-long separation all in 2 weeks. Like, it's like there's just so many things unfolding to help bring the intensity to a boiling point, and even within, like, the boiling point, like, this boiling point only serves to, like, bring this other thing to a boiling point, and that boiling point brings this other thing to a boiling point. So I don't even think we've seen it all yet. I think we're just kind of in the beginning of whatever this all is, like, however this is playing out, and I am gonna talk about it through the lens of the Cancer full moon that we have coming up here in a couple weeks, at the beginning of January. Today, just even a few hours ago, was the Capricorn new moon, and so now in 2 weeks, we have the Cancer full moon. And what I'm understanding from all of this is a couple of things. One, with the Capricorn side, the Capricorn new moon, new intention side, there is very much like a witnessing of what is important to you, what what is in the bigger picture, right? If you zoom out to like the biggest picture possible, what is truly important to you? What matters enough to spend your time, your most valuable asset, to spend your time on a daily basis working on and investing in? Like, what is that important? And in the contrast, like, what's not important then? Like I said, like, after the week I've had, being 3 minutes late for my live stream feels like no big deal whatsoever. Because, like, dude, what a small potato compared to, like, the big things that I've been dealing with this week. So, a little bit of that can be really helpful, I think, to get really, really clear on what are the battles worth fighting and, like, what are the pieces that are important enough to like really, really try and give it a lot of effort? And what are the pieces where it's like you notice, like, oh, that thing isn't right, or that's out of balance, or whatever. And you're like, yeah, forget it. It's not even worth spending the time to bring it into balance. So I think we're getting this very, very clear picture of like what truly matters to us, like what is actually important in the earth realm. And as we have that going on, like basically today, December 23rd, with the new moon, the next piece of that is then the moon moving on from Capricorn and gaining light until we have the full moon in Cancer. And what I'm seeing play out is like a lot of our stagnant emotional energy that is tied to these things, that as we have all of these things playing out, we get to see like what is the important stuff and what is the not important stuff. And for the not important stuff, that holds a lot of baggage inside of us, is what I'm sensing. Is like there is a lot of stagnant energy within us that is only there because of some like random barely important piece, and it's like, why are you still hanging on to that? Why not just let that go? Why not just release it and have that space be open for whatever it is that you've decided is truly the important part? So there is like very much a healing release on the horizon that is like, I think, just kind of beginning with this Capricorn new moon sense of what is truly important, and that be our guide as we go into this Cancer full moon, where we do have a lot of old emotional baggage possibly coming to our surface. And it's like, let that be the information that it ultimately is. Like when we think about Cancer energy, Cancer is the first water sign. It's supposed to be kind of like the well spring of our emotional energy. So like our raw emotional truth is what Cancer energy is presenting to us at any given time. And depending on the circumstance that we're in, the emotional truth that gets reflected to us, it can feel really good or it can feel really bad. And you can question and you can let go of whatever you want. You can hang on to whatever you want. But the part that I usually question and try to see, like, do I really need to be hanging on to this, or is there something I could let go of, is when it feels really bad. So again, I'm going to start with my story of like Wednesday morning. So this was 2 days ago. I had a conversation at like 8 o'clock in the morning that it did not go well. It was a very heated conversation. I really did not expect it. I was quite surprised by the nature of what I walked into in that situation. Um, and basically, like, long story short, walking away from that exchange, I felt like it was very obvious to me that this person that I was talking to is hurting, and in their hurting and in their stress, they are doing what they can to relieve that painful feeling from inside of themselves. And in this instant, they are doing the shadow behavior of projecting it onto another person, in this case, me, and kind of like having that energy, somebody try to like put that energy on me. It was very, very interesting, the things that came up in the wake of that, in this sense of like what is truly important, what is what is really important, and what is not worth worrying about or fretting over, and just release that energy. Just, I mean, you don't need it. And so one example is like this person had some really unfavorable opinions of me, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but I am saying that they very much contradicted with the opinions that I hold of myself, and that as I like tap into my more expanded self, that my expanded self holds of me. Like those opinions that they were voicing to me, they came into direct contrast with how I see myself. And that was one of the pieces that came to my surface because as a Leo moon, especially, I tend to have a really sensitive spot when it comes to what other people think of me. And in this instance, this person is not a fan, and they made that abundantly clear. And that in the moment was really hard to take because of some of these things that I was holding on to about needing to have a positive reaction from people. And in the aftermath of that situation, one of the things that came up as far as like, is it really important that other people like me? Is it really important that other people understand where I'm coming from? Is it really important that other people believe that my intentions are good? Is it important that other people believe that what I'm choosing to do can be successful? Like, are those things important? Do they matter? Because if they do, I have some evidence that is really rocking my world. But if they don't matter, then that evidence just kind of falls away with it. It goes back to being able to see it as this person is in pain and they're trying to help themselves feel better by expelling that energy however they know how to do that. And it really let me see, like, I feel like through that experience of like processing after that conversation, it really did let me let go of needing other people to understand, needing other people to agree that I am good and that I am doing good and that I have good intentions and that I have a good heart and that I'm doing the best that I can and the mistakes that I'm making are acceptable. That's how I see myself. And this person basically was looking at it and saw something completely opposite of that. And so in the face of that opposition, it's like you get to decide, like, what do you really believe? What is the most important thing to you? Is it that you be confident in what you're doing and that you take care of your own energy and that you have your own back versus like somebody who is, not wanting to have your back, not wanting to see the good in you. They want to see the worst and they want that to be the entire story. It's like they get to do that. They get to have whatever opinion they want. And we get to decide in the aftermath of that moment, or maybe even while it's still happening, we get to decide what is truly important to us. In the earth realm, we get to choose what we choose to pay attention to, what we give our attention to, and with that, we guide how we feel. So there are that's like the earth side piece. That's like the Capricorn, like being really mindful and getting really clear about what truly is important and what isn't even your mountain to climb. Like there's a lot of options in this world. There's so many different things that we can do with our time. Some of them are personally important to us, and some of them do not matter to the reason we're here whatsoever. And so getting to choose what is it that you want to spend your time on and what isn't important enough to want to spend time on, and really letting go of anything that falls into that latter category. On the Cancer side, the Cancer full moon side, so I think there's an invitation here that's coming forward as this Cancer full moon, like as the light builds on the moon and we reach 2 weeks from now, the Cancer full moon. Um, there is this invitation to more fully step into the role of inner parent. Like, I'm very much downloading this, like the overarching energy of this Cancer full moon as the moon of mothering ourself, the moon of mothering ourself, and how important in the grand scheme of like going back to the Capricorn side, how important it is to parent ourselves inside of basically every single day, but especially inside a moment where, I mean, long story short, where somebody is being mean to you, where somebody is like stirring up the dust in your environment and trying to convince you of their version of the truth. Like at that point, like I think about, like an actual parent, like a child who comes home from school and says, Mom, they're bullying me at school. They're being mean to me. And does the mom say, toughen up and like get over it and just let it roll off your back? Or like, does the mom exercise protection over you? Does the mom say, you don't deserve that? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe that they were saying that to you. Does the mom put her arm around you and try to console you and try to lift your spirits back up after somebody else tried to tear them down? Like, we all had the mom we had when we were little, and that, there's really nothing we can do about that. But right now, right here today, in these moments, we can be that mom who puts her arm around us and says, that should not have happened to you. You do not deserve that. Let me help you to feel better now. Let me help you set better boundaries so that this doesn't happen again. Let me help you learn how to stand up for yourself so that, again, this isn't your normal thing. And to be there for ourselves emotionally. And I think, I definitely believe that most people around my channel are doing this to some extent. Like, we pretty much come together on this common ground of self-care. So I'm pretty sure I'm preaching to the choir here as I'm talking about like being there for yourself emotionally. But what I saw Wednesday was like this very clear, I have this like 5-minute conversation, and then like the whole rest of the day on Wednesday, there was this very clear dynamic of my inner child and how emotional my inner child was after that experience, and how my inner parent reacted to the way that we had been treated. And that was like, honestly, like, I gotta say, and maybe this helps, like, going into these next 2 weeks where I think, like, I personally don't think this is gonna be the last experience I have where somebody upsets my apple cart, where somebody, like, stirs up my dust, and my inner parent has to come in and has to, like, help soothe and help, like, nurture me back to a good feeling place. So I mean, after the last couple of days of like really processing what that experience gave me, I am honestly very grateful for the upset in the first place because of what I got to witness out of my inner parent and how accepting my inner parent was. And that, as I witnessed it, was new territory because as soon as I left, like I went through like a very like almost a roller coaster of emotions. There were highs, there were lows, there were spirals, there were like all the things. Um, and basically my inner parent was encouraging my inner child to express. And I wasn't expressing to anybody. I was in my car driving home from the experience. Um, but when I say express, like at the very first part, like I got in my car and I felt like my body was going to explode. I was so full of energy that it felt like I'm about to burst like a balloon that has been filled way too full. And so the first thing that like basically my inner child like was like grasping, like gasping for air and is like, I feel like I just need to scream. And my inner parent was like, dude, go for it. Like scream, have at it. And so I did. And it did feel fucking fantastic, I have to say. Like at that point, the only thing I wanted to do was just like scream like a banshee. And so I did. We're going to call it about a dozen times on the way home. I just would scream until I had no air left in my lungs, and then take a breath and then scream again until I had no air left in my lungs. And that was the first phase, was the screaming, and my inner parent was like, "Go for it." I gave myself a total headache. I screamed until I had no voice left. My inner parent never once was like, "Get it together, you're overreacting." Like, my inner parent was like, "Go for it. Have at it. Like, you do what you need to do. I agree. We need to get this energy out. Like, do express, let it out." And like no point was my inner parent ashamed or accusing me of being too sensitive or accusing me of being like I'm overreacting or you're just being a drama queen. Like these are things that my inner parent has said to me many times in the past when I'm upset. Basically, my inner parent's like, dude, you're stupid. You should get it together. Like you shouldn't even be mad about that. Like, what's the big deal? Like my inner parent isn't on my side. And on Wednesday, she was. She was on my side. And that was new territory to get to witness my inner parent just being like, yeah, let it out, have at it. Like just giving myself full permission to release the energy that needed to be released and to not give myself 1 second of grief or shame about being wrong for the emotions that I was feeling. Like, never, not 1 minute did I feel like you shouldn't feel this way. And I gotta say, like, as far as Cancer energy goes and like the highest possible frequency we can hope to have, it's like we are never, this is my own personal belief, believe whatever you want, we are never going to be done with negative emotion. Like, that's the whole point, is that the guidance system works. There's a hotter and a colder, and we get told which way to go. Do you want more of this or do you want less of this? Does it feel good or does it feel bad? And so, like, it's a good sign when our emotions feel really, 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 really powerfully negative. That's a really good sign that our emotional guidance system is working. And so we're never going to be done with the bad feeling parts, just like we're never going to be done with the good feeling parts. There's always going to be both. And so, as far as the highest frequency of Cancer energy, it's not about, oh, you're going to like anchor in love and you're never going to feel anything that other than pure positive energy. It's like when you get to the top frequency of Cancer, there's acceptance of whatever it is that's coming through. It's not a matter of making sure it all feels good and none of it feels bad. Like, that's not the differentiation between shadow Cancer and light frequency Cancer. Shadow Cancer is judging its own emotions as inappropriate. So I'm going to invite, and I'm going to just like invite myself and anybody else who wants to possibly lean into this like higher frequency of Cancer, as far as the best thing we can do for ourselves and our Cancer energy is to accept whatever is flowing through us at that moment, right? Like, to not judge it, to not say it's wrong, to not say that you shouldn't feel like this. Um, and even in that, like, to find that we're beating up on ourselves. Like, let's say, in the past, how my inner parent was, as far as like, get it together, Carly. Like, why are you so upset about this, you drama queen? Like, even to notice that I'm beating up on myself, I would have used to like beat up on myself for beating up on myself, like, at some point the chain of pain has to end. At some point the cycle has to be broken and there has to be an acceptance. So whether you accept the negative emotion right off the bat, or you beat up on yourself for the negative emotion and then you notice that you're beating up on yourself, and that's where the acceptance comes in, to even accept that I'm treating myself in that old way. Like, my inner parent is doing the thing right now where she's judging me, and me as the observer, me as the soul being that I am, the extension of source energy that I am, I'm I'm not going to judge my inner parent for judging me. I'm going to love my inner parent for doing the best they can in this moment. I'm going to accept the imperfection of my inner parent, and I'm going to look for ways to love myself a little bit more, even though my inner parent is judging me. So I feel like there's an acceptance of emotion that is unfolding. And how are we going to accept the emotion if the emotion doesn't flow? And how are we going to accept it more fully unless we experience things that in the past we've rejected ourselves for, and this time we don't? We accept ourselves where previously we've rejected ourselves. That is going to be a full moon manifestation of new territory, of progress in your emotional inner world. And as we go, like, I love the progression of Cancer into Leo. Like, I want to talk about that here for just a little bit, because as we accept our emotional reality, our raw emotional truth, our Cancer energy, whatever we feel, letting it be right, that is such like a step number one for Leo energy. It's like, if you're not right in your emotion, then your creativity cannot flow. Because if you're over here saying that what you're feeling is wrong, then you have no raw material for whatever it is that you're supposed to create in Leo energy. So I personally think that, like, especially where we have this Cancer full moon at the beginning of January, and then the next full moon will be the Leo full moon at the beginning of February, there is absolutely like almost like a portal of creativity that is what is opening. And, beyond our creativity, at the root of our creativity is really our sacred service. I believe that, like, what we create, what we love, what we hate, what we feel, whether it's positive or negative, and what we turn it into, that creation that we offer to the world based on whatever our raw emotional truth is flowing at that time, that is the sacred service that we're ultimately here to provide. So this opening up to our emotions, accepting ourselves through both really beautiful, angelic, powerful gratitude that just makes you weep at how beautiful your life is. Like, that's totally possible. And like, hey, lean in and cry those tears, because that is a release all its own. That is its own clearing out of any kind of stagnant energy. Like, gratitude tears can work the same as sadness tears. So take whatever comes. But I also think there's going to be new levels of accepting our emotions. And usually the emotions that we reject ourselves for are the painful ones, the ugly ones, the sadness, the depression, the anxiety, the worry, the self-judgment, the self-doubt, the self-hatred, this jealousy, envy, like the things that don't feel good in our systems. Usually those are the ones that we're like, stay away, don't come closer. But we can't selectively numb. We don't selectively numb our emotions. So either we numb all of them or we numb none of them. And I think this Cancer full moon is an invitation into allowing more of your emotional energy to go unnumbed, to allow more of your emotional energy to rise into your consciousness, and your inner parent to put an arm around your jealous, envious, upset, dramatic, whatever your inner child is being in that moment. We love them through it. We love ourselves through it, and we let them be however they are. No emotional energy that ever comes through us is ever wrong. It is all, again, these are my own beliefs, but it is all right on time. Every single bit of it. Even the conversation that I had on Wednesday, it's incredible how, yes, in that moment, um, it was a painful experience, and healing from it for a couple of days has been a painful experience. But life doesn't just like give you lemons and like, you suck, so here's some lemons. Like, it's like, no, like, you take the lemons and you're like, what can I make out of these? And then you come up with lemonade, and now you're like, oh my God, that's delicious and refreshing. This is so amazing. I can't believe it took me this long to come up with lemonade. Thank you so much for making sure that I got these lemons. Thank you. And that's all I feel at this point for that person. I have a feeling this person and I, we're not going to do a whole lot of communicating in the future. Like, that's okay. Like, there's a pretty strong boundary that exists in that spot right now. Um, but I'm so grateful that we had the experience that we had, because that energy was a turning point on a lot of different fronts. Like, me accepting my own emotions is a big one. Me kind of like rearranging some things in our work processes and stepping in on some tasks and picking up some pieces that, this is too much on their plate, so I'm going to put it on my plate. And as I've looked at like that resituation, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is amazing, because now I can see the process from this side and I can see it from this side. So I can put the puzzle together from both sides. And now I'm so excited that I'm going to do these tasks that I never would have thought to like do that work myself unless this all came up and I got handed some lemons. And so now I'm over here making lemonade, and I'm pretty freaking excited about the lemonade that I now have. So it also goes back to kind of this idea where this foundational belief that I've cultivated, and I believe a lot of you have already cultivated a lot of this too, but also this Cancer full moon is a great time to really maximize this energy of accepting your emotions no matter what they look like. Accepting anger, accepting rage, accepting despair, accepting heartbreak, accepting disbelief, like accepting everything that you feel as right on time, as a blessing in, like, no matter the form it shows up in, it is a blessing. And as the thing unfolds, you will find out how it is a blessing. But like, to know that going in to like walk into negative emotion or like walk into a conversation where you think it's going to go like this and you like get blindsided and it's like this, like in that moment in real time, knowing that nothing has gone wrong. Nothing's wrong here. This is just very different from what I was expecting. No big deal. I'll take whatever it is and I'll make the best of it. I'll make the best of it. I'll try to figure out like how am I going to be creative and what am I going to turn this into? Um yeah, something that came out of that experience and feels really relevant to our Cancer energy. Cancer is a very sensitive energy. Like it's the crab is the animal that represents Cancer, and the crab has that hard outer shell because on the inside it's like soft and squishy. So this soft and squishy Cancer energy, this really sensitive emotional energy, like yeah, I mean, I'm not saying like this necessarily makes the pain of the sting go away. I mean, there was a lot of pain and there was a lot of sting and there was a lot of like soreness. Like I felt like after that, like my aura, my energy, my emotional energy had been like in a boxing match and had like gotten the shit kicked out of it is how it felt walking away from that conversation. And so that soreness in my energy, it lasted for a couple of days. But at the same time, like that whole time, I'm sitting there like, I know how to scream to like as an emergency release valve to get this energy out of my system. I know how to journal and like continue to process and get perspective. I know how to merge with my inner being and find unconditional love and compassion for myself and for this other person. I know how to heal myself. And so a little bit of poison, a little bit of emotional injury is not the end of the world. Like the part that really came clear is just like basically I'm going to try to see if I can say this as simply as I wrote it down the other day. Just because like when someone abuses you, when they are mean to you, when they mistreat you, they are inviting you to claim the identity of victim. And that is an invitation that we get to decide if we want to accept or not. Someone abusing us does not automatically mean that we are abused. Being abused is us throwing in the towel like I can't I can't deal with this. This is more than what I'm capable of is basically like I think when you accept that you're like the victim in the situation, there's like a concession at that point of like I'm done trying. I don't mean this to I feel like I'm stirring up the dust with what I'm saying, but like how it felt was like I felt like I got in the ring with someone and we went rounds in those 5 minutes. And I felt like I got the shit kicked out of me, but never, not one time did I feel like a victim because I did hold my own and I did keep myself standing solidly in love. And even in the moments when he is telling me these things that he does not like about me, I am looking in his eyes and I am connecting with his soul and I am like downloading love into his soul because that's who I am. So him being abusive does not make me abused. It does not. I watched it happen. I watched strength that I did not know that I had show up and create this bubble around me where almost none of what he was trying to put on me was able to get in. Some of it did. And that part, I have no doubt, my expanded self was like, here, you need this, heal this, because you're going to need that lesson on your journey at some point. That's like for the highest good of the all, that this little bit of pain did seep in through that experience. But for the most part, I held my own and I stood in love and I stood in my self-worth. I stood in the vision, the image that I have of myself and my own goodness and my own love, the loving being that I am. I knew that even though he's telling me the exact opposite. So it was very cool, honestly, to get to see that, like, just because somebody mistreats you doesn't automatically make you a victim. A victim is kind of, yeah, it's like there's a choice point in there that in the past, I've definitely like had stories and had things that happened in my world where I was so ready to point the finger at somebody else, like they mistreated me and that's why I'm down here, I'm abused, I'm this victim. And it wasn't like that this time. It wasn't. I like it didn't even cross my mind until a full day later that I was his victim. Like that just wasn't how I saw it at all. Like how I saw it was like, wow, you really held your own. Like he didn't get in your head the way people like that have gotten in your head before. And holy shit. Like I didn't even know I was capable of that. Like I've had a story going on my whole life that says like I'm conflict avoidant. I hate conflict. I suck at conflict. I don't like to be around negative people because I soak up their energy and then I can't get rid of it. So that's been my story this whole time. And in that experience, that manifestation, that 5-minute conversation, it like exploded all of those stories because not only did I not cower at his attack, I stood up for myself in the moment. I left there knowing that he is clearly in pain to be lashing out like that. Like I was not taking it personally. Like there was so much growth that I got to witness by having that experience unfold around me. So I think there's going to be some opportunities in these next couple weeks to get to see the emotional strength and resilience that we have built up. And as, as these situations, as this like collective energy is present, I think that's why there are people who have fewer coping skills, fewer emotional management skills, energy management skills, that as the pressure gets turned up, they don't know where to go with this extra energy. And I think that's why we're going to see like more projection, basically, for lack of a better word, like more trying to put it on someone else just to get it out of their own system. And as somebody who for a long time had no emotion management skills whatsoever, I very much was that person who was projecting and blaming and trying to get the pain out of myself by making it someone else's fault. So I definitely have compassion and I empathize with the pain that someone has to be in order to hurt somebody else. And in being able to like stand firm in that moment and kind of like break that cycle. Like he was hurting and he didn't know how to fix it and it came out on me. And I could have just as easily taken that pain and not knowing how to fix it and then take it out on the next person and then they take it out on the next person. And the chain of pain just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes until somebody stops it, until somebody says, I don't hold this against you. I'm going to go home and I'm going to take this pain that you gave me and I'm going to process it myself through my emotion management skills, through my energy processing skills. And I am going to transmute this energy into something magical, into something. I'm going to take these lemons and I'm going to make lemonade. And I am not going to hand a single other person any lemons just because you gave them to me. I am not a victim. I am a creator. And in this Cancer full moon, I think over these next couple weeks, we're going to get to see where we are on that spectrum of creator on one end and victim on the other. And moment to moment, more than anything else, as much as we can practice that like unconditional motherly love that says the inner child does not have to be perfect. You do not have to be a creator 100% of the time in order to practice that acceptance of wherever you are. Like I've noticed, I mean, in other moments, I did a really good job this time, but in other moments, definitely when I'm stressed and then I snap at somebody else, that's a moment where like here I am in this pain and now I'm taking it out on somebody else. And like those moments, like they typically don't sit well with me. I don't like inflicting emotional pain on other people because I'm so sensitive when other people take it out on me. So I try to be the stop. I try to be like the place where the chain comes apart, and like any pain that I receive, I only send out love. I transmute it into love. And if I haven't done that yet, then I'm mostly in quarantine, which was why, like, underneath this entire experience, there was this spiritual support underlying the entire thing, this foundation of love and acceptance, and like holding me through this was I already had nothing on my calendar Wednesday or Thursday. So it's not like this experience happened and then I had like 2 12-hour days back to back where I didn't have any time to like go care for myself. Like I had nothing but time. I had 2 free days to like basically go home and like lick my wounds and bandage up myself, and like, I went 3 rounds with this other boxer and I got beat the hell up, and now I'm going to go home and like ice myself and like really heal after that experience. And so to have that time like already carved out was such a blessing. And this was the other cool piece. So, like, I posted on Owning Authenticity a little while ago about how I've done readings for the fire signs and the air signs, like looking ahead at the next 12 months or like looking ahead at 2023. And so I am in the middle of doing the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. On Monday morning, I drew the 3 cards, the 3 main cards, and like built the piles for that reading. On Tuesday morning, I did the Taurus reading. And that whole time, I like the card that I got for the Virgo reading, I like did not understand whatsoever. And so I was like, I have no idea like how to do that reading. So I guess I'll just let that sit there and maybe I'll get to it whenever it unfolds. The card that came out for Virgo, as far as like what's unfolding for Virgo energy in these next 12 months, the card that came out is called the Venom. The Venom. It's basically like poison. So, poison. It's a tool. And that's what's unfolding for Virgo energy over the next 12 months. And I'm like, Venom, really fascinating. Okay. Have no idea what that's about. So that was Monday. And then Tuesday, I did the Taurus reading and it was really fun and still didn't understand the Venom card. So I just kind of stopped right there after the Taurus reading. Wednesday morning, 8 a.m., I have that conversation with this person. And literally, as soon as the 5-minute conversation is over and I go out to my car, I'm on my way home, I'm doing my screaming. And I realize in that moment, oh my God, I just got struck by venom. This is it. This is the poison. This is like that person's pain and negative energy and projection and like psychic attack of like trying to put their negative energy onto me. This is the moment of the venom. This was a venomous attack. And now I get to go home and I get to heal from absorbing the venom and like go through the process of purifying my energy, because that's ultimately what the venom is for. As far as it is a tool, it's like a lot of poison kills you, but a little bit of poison actually purifies and detoxifies your energy field. And that was the takeaway as I'm screaming these screams to like get this energy out of my system as fast as freaking possible because it hurt. It's like I could feel that this is not just this energy that I just took in. This is like pulling from my depths. Like just, I was letting stuff out that I think has been stagnant energy my entire life. So a little bit of poison, and you think like, kind of like when you have food poisoning, like you don't just go through, you don't just expel the part that was the part that made you sick. You expel everything. Like your body is like, everything has got to come out. And so again, a little bit of poison means a big purification. And that is exactly what I have undergone in these last few days. And again, it has left me nothing but grateful. It left me very tired. It was an extreme emotional eruption that came out on Wednesday. And with, yes, the energy that this particular conversation had caused, but like I said, so much deeper than that, as far as removing and expelling old stagnant energy that is long overdue to be released. So even even those situations that might look a little tricky on the surface, like, what the hell? What the hell is this? This is not how my conversations normally go. What is going on here? Being able to be in that moment and know for a fact that nothing has gone wrong, that this is not wrong, this is right on time. Like, what lemonade am I supposed to make out of these lemons? Like, to have that real time awareness was such a gift and was so much a part of the spiritual protection bubble that I could feel through that experience of so much of what that person was trying to put on me never got through that bubble. Like, there were moments, I mean, I felt a little bit guilty about this afterwards, but like, that's literally how shocking it was to me that there were things that the person said where I laughed. That was how surprising it was that I was like shocked into laughter by what they were saying. And that shows you the strength of like what my spiritual protection was like knowing to be true in that moment. Here's what I know to be true, and here's what the person offered. And there's such a gap between them that I laughed because it was so ridiculous what they were saying compared to what I knew to be true. And I realized, like, that's probably about the same as like laughing at a funeral. You want to try to like keep that to a minimum, but that was genuinely my reaction. And it really stood out to me after the fact as far as like being evidence of, because like a little bit afterwards, like that conversation was just really in my head. Like, is that true? Like, should I update how I see myself and like kind of like going through some of that? And remembering that laughter, remembering the utter disbelief, like the utter shock and the like huge gap between what I know to be true and what they're saying is true. And to laugh, it felt like evidence of like, no, you know what your inner being believes. Like, you know what your own self image is. You know where your heart is. You know where your intentions are coming from. This person's version of the story, like, they get to have it. Don't get me wrong. Like, we don't get to change what they think, but we also don't have to replace what we think by what they think. So it all was very good. It may not sound like that, but it definitely was. And I'm very grateful that I got to have that experience just in time, literally, to be able to include it here as the meat and potatoes of our Cancer full moon conversation, because I know that there are going to be emotional moments, some emotional terrain for us to cross. And in that crossing of that emotional terrain, we will get to witness our strength and our resilience in ways where maybe we've never got to see that side of ourselves before. And so hopefully, hopefully, you make some lemonade, some really delicious, refreshing lemonade out of any lemons that you may receive over these next couple weeks. So that is what I have to share with you. If you have enjoyed my version of events on this Cancer full moon conversation, please give me a thumbs up. I would also like going full circle with what I asked you guys at the beginning, like, how are you? How are you doing? It is intense. This is an intense period, and I would love to connect with you down below in the comments if you would like to share. I hear the people here on the live chat, like, definitely um, feeling the intensity. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this is more of a collective experience. And so please know that if you are going through your own emotional roller coaster, at least you're not alone. Nothing has gone wrong. You're not doing it wrong. The volume knob on the emotional intensity has been cranked to the max, basically, I think. So I am going to scroll back through the chat a little bit. Yeah, I feel like, okay, so Irene says, my soul's goal as Pluto Saturn in the fourth is I got to mother myself. It's so hard. It is. It is hard to learn how to mother yourself, especially when most of the people who need to mother themselves are the ones who did not have a nurturing mother in their childhood. And so it's even harder to mother yourself if you didn't have a role model for what that looks like. And so again, that's where I go back to, even in like your lack of an inner mother, to from there's the inner child where the raw emotions are coming from. There's the inner parent where we're kind of like more coolly and detached reacting to those emotions. And then outside of all of that is who you really are, is your soul, is your observer self that is witnessing this entire exchange between the two and is not either one of them. It's bigger and more all encompassing than any one part of who you are. So even if you witness shortcomings of your own inner mother, if your inner mother can't unconditionally love your inner child, I'm going to invite your soul to practice unconditionally loving your inner mother, even when she is the one who is failing your inner child. So maybe that gives everybody a place to bite into, kind of regardless of where we are, because it absolutely is. It is a process to come into a place where you can have your own back, where you can be your own advocate, like a mother is supposed to be, especially if you didn't receive that right off the bat when you got here. Andrea says, I'm allowing myself to feel all the feels. This is a new practice for me, and I'm seeing that I'm able to move through it instead of blocking the energy. Absolutely. Like this, I think it was Thursday morning. I woke up with a headache. I woke up like full of this energy. I thought when I went to bed on Wednesday night, like, a good night's sleep and I'll wake up and I'll feel great tomorrow morning. And I didn't. I woke up and I felt like shit and like almost hungover because, like, again, I wasn't drinking, but like I just felt beat up. And so even in the not feeling good, even in the awareness of this hurts, I feel like for a good big chunk of the time on Saturday, or sorry, not Saturday, Thursday, yesterday, I basically just like my inner child, like, was, this hurts. It hurts like in my whole body. It just hurts. Yeah, it's painful. It hurts. And my inner mother was like, okay, okay, it's okay. Yeah, it hurts really still. Okay. Yep. We're just gonna, yep. And it was like almost like, like kind of like my inner mom spooning my inner child and just kind of like rocking myself in that pain and like not trying to make it be over, just being present and aware that this hurts. This really hurts, and cry every once in a while because it hurts, and like be grateful every once in a while because I almost never feel this way, and be even more grateful because I know how to heal when I do feel this way. And that's why it's so rare. Be grateful that my inner parent is so accepting and is not cracking the whip trying to make me get over anything. Is just sitting with me and being like, I know it hurts. I know. It'll pass. Pain is temporary. It's okay. It's okay. You're all right. We're okay. We're safe. She told me that a lot too, my inner parent, like over and over and over and over, we are safe. Because I kept like going back to that energy of that 5-minute conversation, and like my whole body would like tense back up again. And my inner parent just kept, like, every time that would happen, like, we are safe. We are not there. We are here. And I know it hurts, but we're safe. And so, like, convincing myself for as long as it took, and it took to every bit of 2 days to convince myself that I am safe, that I am not in that moment. I am not in that energy. I don't live inside his energy. I live inside my energy. And so it took 2 days to bring me back to my center, but I came, and my inner parent just, like, we would sit down and cry sometimes, and my inner parent was cool and would just rock me and like, I know it hurts. And then we get up and we'd move a little bit towards, like, creating something fun, or like getting to go smell the roast that was cooking all day in the crock pot yesterday, and kind of like just ground into this moment of really like indulging my senses. Like, yeah, it was a journey back to center that my inner child and my inner parent took together as one, and nobody was in a hurry. Nobody was judging anybody else because we didn't feel good. We felt bad, and that's just what the day was. Like, it's painful, and that's what it is. And I know how to be in pain doesn't kill me. It just hurts, and that's okay. So yeah, to like, I feel like it also kind of reminds me of the quote of like, pain is guaranteed, suffering is optional. Like, yes, I was in pain, but I wasn't suffering. I wasn't alone. I had my inner parent. Like, I had my inner being. I had my expanded self. I had my spiritual bubble of protection. I was not even close to alone inside my pain. And so there wasn't any suffering associated with it. I had my own back, and that eliminated every ounce of the suffering that there could have been from that experience. I got to bypass all of it. So, yeah, I think there's definitely painful emotions, but not even that automatically guarantees that you're going to be in suffering. So, opening up as much as we can to the full spectrum of emotions is really the best thing that we can do, I think, to, like, not only survive this emotional terrain, but make the most of it, because you don't get handed lemons for no freaking reason. You're probably parched and in need of some refreshment, and that's why they gave you the lemons, so you can make the lemonade and enjoy it, right? Like, oh, it's so beautiful when we really look at like why anything is coming to us at all, and how much suffering we can inflict on ourselves when we judge an experience to be negative, and we miss the point that like everything is a blessing. Every single thing that unfolds around us is a blessing, and it's just a matter of how far into it are you, and have you been able to see the good in it yet. And that experience a couple days ago, it was like in the middle of the shitstorm of the 5-minute conversation of like getting punched with the insults and the energetic attack or whatever. Like, even in the middle of getting beat up and having this fight, I'm like, how fascinating is this? Like, this is so interesting. Why is this happening? This is so weird. Like, this is so abnormal compared to what normally happens to me. And so there must be a reason. I can't wait to figure out what the reason is. Like, we can see it that way. We can, with practice. And this will be a time to get to practice that. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Fola says, my students turned on me this Sunday, LOL, and I had to go through my whole process of spinning out to figure out that this is the pattern I go through anytime someone has an issue with me. I turn on myself, and I have to stop doing that. Fola, that is so wise. That is, God, that's so wise. And that is so the epitome of like the old pattern that I was so used to. And that's why I think seeing myself go through this experience these last couple of days was so profound, because I did not turn on myself. Even though this guy was telling me I'm a piece of shit, basically, those were not his words, but let's just boil it down to like, he had no use for me. And like, my intentions are wrong. Myself is incapable. I am dishonest. Like, all of these things that, like, even 6 months ago, Carly would have fallen down under the weight of those opinions and would have taken a long time to recover. And this time, him telling me that I'm wrong, or that I'm doing it wrong, or that I'm being wrong, or whatever, basically my conclusion, like in the moment, was he obviously doesn't get it. And okay. Like, he doesn't have to get it. Like, that is not required in order for me to heal from this venom that I just soaked up. Like, no part of my healing journey has anything to do with convincing him of anything. So if he wants to think these things about me, that's what he gets to do. He has free will. So cool. But to like know myself, to know my own goodness in the face of someone else's disapproval, is brand new territory for me. And to not turn on myself was brand new territory for me. So, I mean, again, how do you know if you've healed that tendency unless another person turns on you? And if you turn on yourself, then, like we said, like if your inner mother can't unconditionally love your inner child, then practice unconditionally loving your inner mother. practice loving her in the face of her judgmental ass. No, like, I see you judging me and I love you anyway. See if we can like come up to that observer place where even the inner mother can't get it wrong, and practice loving from whatever place, whatever entry point you can find into self-love. This will be a season for it. And anybody who wants to attack or give you a dose of poison or hold up a mirror and reflect something to you. It reminds me of the Eight of Swords, especially in the Lightseer's deck, where she's sitting there and she's like kind of like got her arms crossed, but she's fine. And then in the mirror, like there's all these attacks and she's like wrapped in ropes and she's like totally bound up and she has this blindfold on and she's like, all kinds of things are happening to her in this mirror, but in reality, none of it is happening to her. And that's what this felt like with him, is like he got to hold up whatever mirror he wanted. He got to take whatever energy he wanted and put it on me. He gets to project whatever he wants. I don't have to take it if I don't want it. If I don't agree with what he's saying, he has zero power inside of my experience. The reflection that he's showing to me holds no power if I don't give it any. And that part was crystal clear. And that's where, again, I go back to kind of contemplating victimhood and this spectrum of creator and victim. And when somebody doesn't understand us, or, you know, worse yet, they think we're wrong, or worse yet, they're completely indifferent to what we're doing, it's like those are reflections holding things up to you saying, you're wrong, you don't matter, you're bad. And in the face of that reflection, what do you believe? That is a very deep question that I think each of us individually gets to have our own experience as we work on helping to judge ourselves less, helping to like have our own back, you know, like how you wish your mom would have been, you know, be the mom that you wish you would have had when you were little. Be that mom to yourself. Where, you know, I very much had an experience of being bullied in 7th grade, and my mom kind of had the attitude like, it's no big deal, kids will be kids, like it'll be over soon, like just let it roll off, you toughen up, it'll be fine. And yeah, that taught me a lot about how I overreact to things and how I get upset at stuff when it's not worth getting upset over. And like I learned that about myself. And I proceeded to judge my own emotions because of that for the last 20 years. And to see that this time I did have a strong emotional response, and no part of me turned on myself. No part of me told me I was wrong for feeling like that sucked. That hurt. That was really painful. I don't want to go through that again. / Byron Katie's work of like, I'm eager to go through that again, right? The last line on the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet is, I'm eager for someone to turn on me again. Maybe give me another couple days before we have that. But sure, yeah, I can see where them holding up a reflection that does not match your truth, it is an opportunity to get that much clearer in your own emotional truth and in your own emotional acceptance. So I hope that we can together, as best we can, right? Like, we don't have to be perfect, but as much as we can practice making the lemonade out of the lemons that we get handed, I think it'll just make the rest of 2022 and the beginning of 2023 a lot more enjoyable for us. So I'm going to cut it off there. I think this was really good as far as what I wanted to cover around accepting whatever emotions flow through you, especially these next couple weeks, but really always. If you have liked this, please give me a thumbs up. I will be back in 2 weeks with my next live stream over the Aquarius new moon. That will be our next new moon after this upcoming Cancer full moon. And some other things that I wanted to mention, upcoming events. I have my Sacred Circle Zoom that is on the 27th of December. So that is an event for all of my Patreon members. We meet once a month on Zoom and have a spiritual conversation. So if you are looking to expand your spiritual community, feel free to check that out. That is pretty much open for anybody to join. It's set at a pay what feels good rate. So if you want to sign up for $5 a month, it'll charge you 1 month from when you first sign up, and then every month on that day. And then it'll go as low as like $1 a month. So if you're interested in joining those conversations, we want to have you there. The next one is December 27th. We start those at 10 a.m. Central Time. The Zoom link is inside the Patreon. And then the next thing I also have coming up, so the live stream will be on January 6th. And then on January 7th is another Zoom event. This one is completely free, open to anybody who wants to be there. And it's our book club. So we've been doing a book club for the last 3 months on The Way of Integrity by Martha Beck. And amazing book, so powerful, so practical, like with earth energy style advice, like exercises and how to actually apply what it's talking about in that book. Absolutely love it. Can't recommend it enough. So the last part of that book club will be on January 7th. That's the final part of that book. And then at the beginning of February, we'll start our new book. And so I'll talk a little bit about that at the end of the book club on January 7th. I'm going to announce what the new book is. So if you want to join either of those, I do believe that, yes, so Fola put a link to the Sacred Circle, the Patreon. You can join that, and the link will be in there. The link to the Soul Aligned Living meetup group is also in the description box, so feel free to check that out. That's where you can find the link to join the book club. And yeah. Oh, I also wanted to mention, so I have like nine readings maybe up on my new channel, Moon Mirror Tarot, where I'm doing pick a card, tarot, and oracle readings. And I am having an absolute blast creating those. So the Earth Energy one is the one that I'm working on right now. That one should be out soon. Thank you so much, Fola, for putting the link for the book club. The Earth Energy reading should be out soon, but I also just did one for Capricorn season, specifically with information about your soul's work. I also did one that was probably my favorite so far called What Do People Learn From You? That one was so freaking fun. I'll definitely be doing another version of that sometime soon because that was a really fun energy to tap into. So yeah, if you want to check that out, feel free to check out any of those readings that are calling to you. Subscribe to that channel. I've been uploading over there regularly too, in addition to owning authenticity. And yeah, thank you for listening to my sales spiel here at the end. I will, I'm sure, be talking to you soon. So until then, I do hope that you take such good care of yourselves, and so will I. Thank you so much, and happy holidays, dear friends. Okay, bye.